and it's crazy because when you watch that Braves Mets series, and Speedy, I think I brought this up to you recently. When I watch that Braves lineup, because you see it, I believe they're second in the league in home runs, but I believe they're also first in the league in strikeouts.
First in the
And
National League.
strikeout
You
rate.
have an
Yep.
overmatching rotation like the Mets do. To me, I mean, Joely Rodriguez. I mean, DeGrom threw them off so much in that game that Joely Rodriguez, who has near a 5.5 ERA, struck out 4 guys in two and a third inning. That's how much I think it changes the narrative. By the way, Spencer Strider,
Amazing.
I mean, really, as great as he is, Taijuan Walker took it on the chin Friday, and he admitted he sucked. That's the way you do it, not the way Strider said it when he said they got lucky and they got the counts the way they wanted it. Dude, you got your ass kicked. You got to move on. It is what it is. It's not October. I get it. If that happened in New York, dude, the guy would be put on a stake at this point. I'm not even kidding. The media would have a field day with that guy because at least Walker admitted he sucked.
As much as I want to agree with you, why don't you look at that as being a weird thing? Listen, he's a kid. He said something stupid. Like, okay, whatever.
Because you know what it is. To me, and let me tell you, weird things. Go back to Jason Vargas, his second run with the Mets. That was some weird stuff that he said. Okay.
Yes, Vargas said some weird stuff. Listen, at the end of the day, dude. Listen, I played for a long time. I've been around a lot of baseball players, and you can fit in a thimble the amount of brilliance that I met on baseball players percentage wise. Most of these guys are not the brightest guys in the world. They're baseball players. They hit a round ball for a living, and they throw a ball for a living. Not a lot of these guys are getting ready to split the atom anytime soon.
Go for it, Speedy.
So I was going to ask, you being a former player, this new playoff format now with the top two teams having byes, looking like the old NFL format before they just recently changed it to the 7 teams. Do you think that's more of a benefit, or do you think there could be a big rust factor for a lot of those teams?
The answer is I don't know. We'll find out. I mean, that's just a fact. This is uncharted territory. Here's what I do love about it. I'm loving the fact that we're not going to get the 1-game playoff because here's the thing. I like having a series. Now, let me torpedo that last sentence really quick. The 1-game playoff is always the best game of the year, and I'm sad we're going to lose out on what is usually the best game of the year.
Except for the Mets in 2016.
Yeah, there's no way to win this argument, but I'm glad they're going to be getting a series. Outside of that, the bye, man, yeah, I can see a team like the Dodgers having a bye, winning 115 games this season, and all of a sudden coming out kind of flat against, say, they're matched up against the Mets. Can you imagine not facing live pitching for 5 days and all of a sudden you got to open up against a Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer? I don't want to do that. I really don't want to. Right now, I feel like the San Diego Padres, if they get a better record going forward than the Atlanta Braves, which I truly think is their goal, I think the San Diego Padres are going to be sitting real pretty come October.
I wanted to get into the Padres. I'm glad you segued into that because obviously what they did was they took over the trade deadline, right? They got Josh Hader, Juan Soto, Josh Bell. Oh, and by the way, we're just going to throw Brandon Drury in there as a little fill-in.
Why not?
Piece. Why not? Because he's been kicking ass this year. Do you like the Padres' approach to how they did this, or do you think they went all in too much too fast?
Team's been around for 50 years. They've never won a World Series. You have to go all in. You got an opportunity, do it. Get it done. This was a front office that was going to be fired a year and a half ago.
Yeah, AJ Bell was very aggressive too.
Yeah, and keep in mind, a year and a half ago, they were all done if they didn't do something. What did they do? They went out and they got their hands on Manny Machado. They went ahead and they got their hands on some more big acquisitions. They went ahead and they traded away all their top talent and got their hands on Blake Snell. Now, that's a trade that didn't work out well, but they got rid of middling talent and got back a Yu Darvish. This team picked up a Joe Musgrove and extended him to a fairly
I love Musgrove.
Yeah, me too. Team friendly deal going forward. That guy could be making $200 million.
5 years, $100 million they got him for.
The guy should have signed a $180 million deal, and he got a hometown discount. I mean,
he was the guy I thought the Mets would actually sign if DeGrom left from free agency. I thought the Mets would look into him, but
dude,
you like what the Nationals did?
Yes. The Nationals got some top tier prospects, so much so that the Padres had to grit their teeth about a couple of them. And one name you got to watch out for, you being a Mets fan, you're going to hear the name. I believe the name is. Give me a second. James Wood. Get ready for James Wood. He's going to be making the Mets' life a nightmare in a couple of years.
My friend's a Nationals fan. He already loves the guy.
Yeah, the guy is apparently a freak.
It was hard for him to give up on Soto, though. It was so I do a wrestling show on this network, too, and I work with, I don't know if you know him, Charlie Slows. So Charlie Slows, the radio announcer for the Nationals. I actually work with his son I do the show, and I asked him this. I said, how's your dad doing watching all these games? He goes, by the time his contract expires, the Nationals, that's when all the prospects are going to come up at this point. Mm-hmm. So he's watching miserable baseball for the next few years. But to me, I look at it, Cody, as with a trade like this. And they did the same thing with Turner and Scherzer last year. And I think the one mistake they made making that Scherzer-Turner trade was they traded both of them to the same team rather than expanding it and going to different farm systems. You have to, I think, trading a guy like Soto, at minimum, 2 of these prospects to me have to work out.
If I can help you with one thing, all 4 of them, well, all 5 of them, all will spend time in the big leagues. Will they all work out? We'll find out. Keep in mind, the majority of quote-unquote prospects don't necessarily work out. It only happens every once in a while that a Fernando Tatis Jr. happens. I mean, where White Sox fans are like, oh, my God, we gave away Fernando Tatis Jr. No, you didn't. You traded away a 16-year-old kid, and you had no idea he was going to turn into what he turned into. And it's great that it happened for the San Diego Padres. But keep in mind,
a great deal. Nobody talks about that trade, the James Shields trade. Nobody ever. We just talk about the Jared Kelenic trade all the time.
No. But keep in mind, for every one of those Fernando Tatis Jr. trades, there are hundreds more Jared Kelenic trades, and that's just the way it is. You're basically betting on the future of guys, bodies, health, where your organization is going to be. Hell, GMs are making trades based on the idea that they're going to be with that organization for another 2-3 years. A bad 2 months gets a GM fired. So it's all gambling, basically, at the end of the day.
James Shields, quite a 2016. Traded for Fernando Tatis Jr. and allowing a home run to Bartolo Colon, all in the same year.
Both happened.
So, being that you're a betting guy, so future bets now towards the end of the season, both for a team and a player. Is there any ones that you like in terms of like good underdog value?
Yes, Mookie Betts. Get a look on Mookie Betts right now. You can probably get him 15-1. I think the National League futures market is completely wide open as far as the MVP going. Right now you got Goldschmidt with the shortest odds, and I do not think Goldschmidt will continue this absurd streak he's been doing. I'm expecting he's always been a kind of a streaky hitter. He can have a bad month, and if he has a bad month, he's going to fall out of the top tier thing. Manny Machado is going to continue to do great things, not to mention Freddie Freeman, but I truly believe this is Mookie Betts' year.
Craziest story you remember playing ball, obviously, and I'm sure the minors, there's a lot of them. What was the craziest story you can remember, whether it's outside of baseball?
I can't tell you the craziest stories.
Oh, yeah, come on.
No.
One. Oh.
No. Like, absolutely not. Other than maybe we did have a teammate that we did shave racing strut. We put him in the shower, and of course, we were all in the shower, and he lost a bet, and because he got thrown out at second base. He said if he got thrown out at second base, we as a team got to shave in because he had really hairy legs, racing stripes down the side of his legs. So he of course got nude and covered his entire body with shaving cream, and we all get on there, and I'm talking like 24 other guys sitting there with a razor, and we're all kind of sculpting our teammate in the San Antonio clubhouse until he got these racing stripes, and the rule was, and our manager was very unhappy about this, but that guy had to steal a base every single time he got on base and there was an open bag. That was the bet. And it worked out great because I think he stole 10 straight and ended up getting moved up to the next level.
Best manager and teammate you ever played with?
Best teammate? Man, there's a couple that immediately come to mind. Nate Fryman being one of them. John Baker being another one, former catcher of the Padres and, of course, the A's and the Cubs. Anthony Recker, one of my favorite teammates. Loved playing with Rec. When I was with the Mets, I couldn't get enough of Luis Guillorme. Love that kid. Favorite other teammates of all time. Rocky Gale, probably very much at the top of my list. Rocky Gale, perennial backup catcher. Look him up. Amazing guy. Favorite manager? Man, there's been a couple. Pat Murphy comes to mind. Pat Murphy, who's currently the bench coach for the Milwaukee Brewers. Dave Roberts comes to mind. Bud Black comes to mind, but I'd probably have to go number one of all time manager, John Gibbons, former manager of the Toronto Blue Jays. I loved Gibby more than most deceased relatives. I would give anything to talk to him right now. He didn't have teeth when I played for him, so I didn't understand a word he said. So maybe he was the rudest man I ever played for. I'll never know. He just spoke like Boomhauer from King of the Hill. I couldn't get enough of this guy. He was the funniest, most gentle, delightful, brilliant baseball mind that I didn't understand a word. But somehow I got better and learned from him just because, I don't know, telekinesis?
So while you were playing, your favorite moment individually and the toughest pitcher you had to face in your career?
Kenley Jansen owned me for whatever reason. I think I foul tip K'd to him 4 times. Just couldn't hit him. Knew every pitch he was throwing and couldn't hit him. Guys that I did really well against. I think, believe it or not, every single Mets star over the last 10 years, I did really well against. I think I have like 3 homers against Mats, 2 homers against Syndergaard.
That's the Mats one. I mean,
a few others. I'm honestly not sure. I think I've had a good career against Mets organization. I don't know. A few other dudes. I always did well against Sonny Gray. But lastly, what was the second part of that question?
So your favorite moment or play in your career?
Getting called up was pretty sweet, but my last at bat was a walk-off home run. I was in AAA for the Diamondbacks, and the organization knew I was retiring. My teammates knew I was retiring. The announcer knew I was retiring, but the fans didn't. No one knew I was retiring the next day. So I hit a walk-off home run that night, and that was pretty sweet.